So what if I told you that the specific problems keeping you up at night, the financial crunch, the relationship drama, career stagnation, what if those weren't actually bad luck? What if instead they were evidence?
Evidence of what? That the universe has a pretty twisted sense of humor.
No, evidence of your capacity. Specifically, evidence that you already hold the solution.
Okay, that's a completely counterintuitive idea.
It is, right. We're all conditioned to see problems as these external blockades, things that just stop us. But today, we're diving into a text that just flips that logic completely upside down. It argues that the problem, it's actually proof of the solution.
It is a bold stance. And we're not just talking about generic, positive thinking here. This is a very specific theological argument about the mechanics of reality.
Exactly. So welcome to the deep dive. Today we're unpacking a source that a lot of you might be familiar with, but we're looking at it through a really specific analytical lens. We're looking at the Rhapsody of Reality's Daily Devotional.
By Pastor Chris Oyakhilome.
Right. And specifically, the entry for Monday, February 9th, 2026.
And looking at the calendar, Monday is the perfect day for this kind of topic.
It really is.
That's usually when that problem mindset hits people the hardest. The weekend's over, reality sets in.
And the to-do list looks insurmountable.
Exactly.
So the title of this entry is Born to Win, You Are the Solution. Now, I'll be honest, when I first read that, it sounded a bit like a motivational poster.
Yeah, one of those ones you'd see in like a corporate break room.
Exactly, with the eagle soaring and the generic font. But our mission today is to really tear that slogan apart and see what's actually underneath it. The text claims that human beings, well, specifically believers in this context, are programmed for success.
Programmed is such an interesting word choice for a spiritual text.
It is.
It implies design, intent. It's like hardwiring. It suggests success isn't something you go out and find, but something that's written into your source code.
It does. So let's start with the core mechanism the author proposes. I think we have to start with what the text calls the physics of problems.
Right.
Pastor Oyakhilome introduces this concept of gravity that really caught me off guard.
You're talking about the line, problems gravitate towards their solutions.
Yes. Problems gravitate towards their solutions. Let's just pause on that for a second, because usually I think of problems as things that just happen. Chaos, entropy.
Random bad luck.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this suggests there's an attraction, like a kind of physical magnetism.
It suggests a relationship. The text asserts, and this is a direct quote, that no problem has ever existed before its solution was born.
That's a claim about timelines.
It really is. It challenges our whole linear perception. We usually think, problem happens, then panic, then we scramble to invent a solution. We see the solution as a reaction.
Right.
But this text argues that the solution actually predates the problem, or at the very least, they're intrinsically linked, like two ends of a magnet.
So, if I'm getting this framework right, the problem isn't just wandering around randomly. It's seeking something.
It's seeking its match. The text says, and I'm quoting again, if the seed of a solution is in you, then the problem will come looking for you.
Okay, I have to push back on that a little bit. That sounds exhausting.
Right.
I mean, if I'm a solution carrier, does that just mean I'm going to be a magnet for trouble my whole life?
Yeah.
Because that feels like a punishment. Congratulations, you're capable. Here's a disaster.
That's a totally valid reaction if you look at it through the lens of, comfort. Yeah, it sounds terrible. But the author is asking you to look at it through the lens of purpose.
Okay.
Think about a lock and a key. A lock is designed for a specific key. So if a problem finds you, the argument here is that it's not because you're unlucky.
It's because I'm the one holding the key.
You're holding the specific key to unlock it.
So it's a case of mistaken identity on my part. I think I'm being attacked, but actually I'm being identified.
Precisely. You aren't being punished. You're being revealed. The size of the problem effectively reveals the size of the solution that's just sitting inside you.
That is a massive shift in perspective.
Yeah.
It means if I'm dealing with petty, small annoyances, maybe I'm operating on a small level.
Yeah.
But if I'm facing a massive, world-shaking crisis,
then, according to this text, you are carrying a massive, world-shaking answer. A large problem gravitates toward a large solution.
It's a spiritual law of attraction, but not in that I want a new car sense.
No, it's functional. It's about utility.
It reminds me of that other line in the source. That's why certain challenges find their way to you. It's because you carry the answer within you.
Yeah.
It's almost like the problem is a heat-seeking missile, but instead of heat, it's seeking the solution that you have.
And that brings us to the inevitable question, right? If you accept that premise, How does that change your behavior when the problem actually knocks on the door?
Well, the default human response is, to complain. Why me? Why now? I don't deserve this.
Right. Which is understandable. We're wired to avoid pain. But the author suggests a really radical alternative. He calls challenges a springboard.
A springboard.
Not a wall.
Not a pit.
Right.
A springboard to, and this is a quote, your next and higher level of greatness and promotion.
I like the imagery, but let's be real for a second. When you're in the middle of a crisis, it doesn't feel like a springboard. It feels like a trash compactor.
Of course, it feels like pressure. But that's how a springboard works, isn't it?
Yeah.
It requires compression. You have to go down to go up. The text implies that without the problem, without that compression, you actually can't get to that next level. You need the resistance to generate the lift.
It connects back to that scripture referenced in the text, James 1.2. Count it all joy when you go through diverse tests. Now, I've heard this verse a million times, and usually it's interpreted as just grin and bear it. Keep a stiff upper lip.
The Stoic approach, or the fake it till you make it approach. Exactly. Or even worse, toxic positivity. Just pretend everything is fine while your house is burning down.
Oh, look at the lovely flames.
But that is not what the source is arguing here. This isn't about delusion. It's about recognition. You count it all joy. Not because you enjoy suffering. Nobody enjoys suffering.
Right.
But because you recognize what the problem is. If you see a springboard, you get excited about the jump. If you see a pit, you despair. The text is just saying, identify the object correctly.
So it's a cognitive reframing tool.
It is. And the text actually gives a script for this,
Yeah.
a specific verbal reaction.
I wrote this down because it's so confident. It's almost arrogant if you say it the wrong way.
Sure.
The text suggests that when you face a challenge, you should say, "Dear Lord, thank you. I was born for this."
I was born for this.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the weight of that statement. It's not "I'll survive this." It's not "Please take this away."
No.
It is a statement of identity. It says, this situation was tailor-made for me to demonstrate who I am.
It's accepting the challenge as a valid part of your story instead of an editing error you're trying to delete.
Exactly. And this confidence is built on a specific promise. The text references Romans 8.28. All things work together for good to them that love God.
That's a classic verse.
Yeah.
Probably one of the most quoted in the entire Bible.
It is, but look at the deduction the author draws from it. He concludes, this means you can never be disadvantaged.
Never disadvantaged. Okay, that is an absolute claim. That feels hard to defend in the real world. I mean, people get disadvantaged all the time.
Yeah.
People lose jobs, they lose health, they lose opportunities.
In a material, immediate sense, yes, of course. But we have to look at the internal logic of the text. If every problem is a springboard,
Okay.
and every challenge gravitates toward you because you have the solution, and everything works together for your good, then technically, in the grand scheme, there's no scenario where you actually lose.
I see. So even if you lose the job or the relationship ends, if you apply this solution mindset, that loss is just the mechanics of the springboard compressing.
Right. It's the pullback before the launch. If you believe the premise, then disadvantage is impossible because every setback is just raw material for the next victory.
It's an interesting way to view resilience. It's not just bouncing back, it's bouncing forward.
Exactly.
Okay, I want to pivot to the source code of this mindset.
Yeah.
Why does the author believe the listener is capable of this? Is it just about having high self-esteem? Like, I'm great, so I can handle it?
No, and this is a really crucial distinction. If you read this as just a self-help book about the power of the human ego, you're missing the entire point.
Right.
It's a theological argument about design. It all comes down to the phrase, born of God.
The text quotes 1 John 5.4 here.
Whatsoever is born of God overcomes the world. And the key is to really look at the scope of that word, whatsoever.
It doesn't just say whoever.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just about people.
Exactly. The text explicitly expands this. It says, anything born of God, whether it's you, your words, your dreams, your vision, or your ideas, they overcome the world.
That's fascinating. So it's not just that I am programmed to win. It means if I have an idea, a business concept, a creative project, if that idea is inspired by this connection to God, the idea itself has overcoming the world built into its DNA.
That's the argument. It differentiates between just a good idea and a God idea. If the origin is divine, the outcome is victory. It's a default setting. The author uses that phrase, fashioned in victory and programmed for success.
We're back to that computer language again. Programmed.
It's a useful metaphor, though. I mean, think about a high-end sports car. A Ferrari is programmed or designed to go fast. It doesn't have to try to be fast.
Doesn't need a pep talk.
No, it doesn't need a pep talk to go 150 miles per hour. That is its nature. It's in the specs. The text is saying that for the believer, winning or overcoming is the nature. It's not something you achieve by straining. It's something you manifest because of what you are.
So if you're struggling and straining, maybe you're operating outside of your nature.
Or you've forgotten your nature. You're driving the Ferrari in first gear, wondering why it's so loud and slow. You aren't trusting the engineering.
That connects to 1 John 4.4, which is also in the text. Greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world.
Right. This is what I'd call the density argument. If the greater one is inside, then the external pressure can never exceed the internal power. It's physically impossible in this theological framework.
Like a submarine.
Exactly like a submarine designed for deep ocean pressure. It doesn't get crushed because its internal structural integrity matches the external force.
Okay, so we've established the internal reality. You're programmed for success, you have the solution, you're the Ferrari, you're the submarine. But the text doesn't just stop at, you'll be fine. It pivots to something much bigger.
It does. And honestly, this is where the text gets the most interesting to me. It shifts from personal survival to global responsibility.
Here's the quote that really stood out. You're the answer, the solution the world is looking for.
That is a heavy mantle to wear. It's saying, hey, this isn't just about you paying your bills or getting through your work week. The world has problems, and you are the distributed solution.
It references Romans 8.1 line here. The earnest expectation of the creature waiteth for the manifestation of the sons of God.
That is one of the most poetic and intense verses in Scripture. The earnest expectation of the creature. The Greek word there implies like standing on tiptoes, stretching the neck to see.
Wow.
It paints this picture of the entire creation, the world, society, nature itself, waiting in suspense.
Waiting for what?
Waiting for the manifestation of the sons of God. Waiting for people who know who they are to finally show up.
That sounds almost like the world is the victim in this scenario, and it's waiting for a hero.
Essentially, yes. The text implies that the world is in this state of decay or confusion, and it is actively looking for people who carry this solution mindset. It's not just that you need to thrive for your own sake. The world needs you to thrive.
Because you're holding a missing piece of the puzzle.
You are.
That really changes how you walk into a room, doesn't it?
Completely.
Yeah.
If you walk into a chaotic meeting at work or a difficult family reunion and you believe, I am the solution, you don't shrink back.
You step up.
You step up, you realize, oh, this chaos isn't here to annoy me. This chaos is here because I'm supposed to bring order to it.
It transforms you from a consumer of the environment to an architect of it.
That's a great way to put it.
But isn't that a lot of pressure? To feel like you have to be the savior in every room? I mean, I can barely decide what to have for dinner some nights.
It would be crushing pressure if you thought you were the source of the solution.
Right.
But remember the earlier point. You don't manufacture the solution. You carry it. It's God at work in you. You're the vessel, not the source. That takes the pressure off. You just have to show up and let that internal programming run.
It's about alignment, not just effort.
Exactly. You're just delivering the package. You didn't have to build the product inside.
So let's get practical. The deep dive is all about taking these high-level concepts and figuring out how to use them. The text ends with a prayer, which acts as a sort of summary.
Yes, the prayer in these devotionals is often a way to codify the thinking. It uses affirmations like, I live above circumstances.
I live above circumstances. That's a key one. It's spatial. You aren't under the problem.
You're above it. And that perspective is vital. You can't solve a maze if you're stuck inside the walls. You have to be above it to see the path.
So the prayer reinforces that position of authority.
It's a speech act. By saying it, you're trying to align your reality with that truth.
And for those of our listeners who are the type to really dig into the source material, and I know you're out there, the text provides a reading list for further study. It points to Joshua 1.9, Isaiah 41.0, and Romans 8.3739.
These aren't random selections. These are the foundational documents for this entire mindset.
Okay, let's take a second on those. Joshua 1.9 is, be strong and of good courage, right?
Right. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and of good courage, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. This was spoken to Joshua right before he had to lead a nation into battle.
So it reinforces that idea that you're never facing the problem alone.
Exactly. The solution, the divine presence, is always right there.
And Isaiah 41.10.
Fear not, for I am with you. I will strengthen you. Yes, I will help you. It's the backup. It's the assurance that the resources you need are available. It counters that feeling of isolation that problems always bring.
And then Romans 8.3739 gives us that famous phrase, more than conquerors.
Which just ties it all together. To be more than a conqueror is a fascinating concept. A conqueror fights and wins. More than a conqueror implies a victory so decisive you didn't just barely survive.
You thrive.
You thrived, you won with leftovers, you won with abundance. It supports the whole program for success thesis perfectly.
So let's zoom out and recap what we've covered today. This isn't just a pep talk. This entry is asking us to make a fundamental shift in how we process reality.
It's asking us to stop viewing ourselves as victims of circumstance and start seeing ourselves as victors by design.
We unpacked the physics of problems, the idea that problems gravitate towards solutions if you have a big problem.
It's evidence of a big solution inside you.
We look at the springboard, that challenges are the mechanism for promotion, not the barrier to it.
We discussed the identity, that being born of God means success is your factory setting.
Your default mode.
Your default mode. And finally, we saw the responsibility that the world is on tiptoes, waiting for you to realize all this and just show up.
It's a powerful message to start the week with. It definitely makes you look at that pile of paperwork or that difficult conversation a little differently.
It turns the dread into anticipation. It prompts the question, what solution is about to be revealed, instead of what bad thing is happening to me.
Exactly. Dear Lord, thank you. I was born for this.
That's the mantra.
Now, before we sign off, we always like to leave you with a provocative thought, something to chew on as you go about your day.
We've talked a lot about gravity, about problems finding you because you hold the answer. So here's the question. If problems gravitate toward their solutions, think about the biggest, scariest challenge in your life right now. The one you are most afraid of.
The dragon in your story.
Exactly. What if that dragon isn't there to kill you? What if the size of that dragon is the only thing accurate enough to measure the specific superpower you are carrying right now that you haven't even discovered yet?
Ooh, I love that. If the size of the dragon reveals the size of the hero, maybe it's time to stop running and start measuring.
Because it's showing you who you really are.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive. We'll see you next time.